Hey guys, and welcome to Violet Pathways. We've been talking a lot about getting on here. I'm Andy,
I'm Jessica.
and we are just going to flow. We are getting in the habit of, whenever we get into these really expansive conversations, to share it with you guys. And I think it would benefit all parties for Jess and I just to flow naturally as we always do. Um, and sometimes we may even forget that we're being recorded. I guess that's my intention. Um, so that we can truly be able to share this frequency with you guys so you guys can frequency match to us in this beautiful expansive way. So Jess was just
Start
talking.
by taking a deep breath in
Yeah.
through your nose, holding it, and releasing. How amazing a conscious breath truly is.
Yeah. I'm over here in Grand Rapids, Michigan in a beautiful park, and I'm just listening to the birds, and we were having a conversation, and what we were talking about was Jessica just started saying and feeling into this download of that she assists and she does not help. I don't want to speak for you, Jess, but do you want to speak more on that for a second?
It was just talking about like how words carry different frequencies. And right now I'm feeling the shift of the old paradigm into the new paradigm that I choose for my life and my living frequency. And like words like need versus desire. Need puts out a lack frequency versus desire is this very expansive, yummy energy. It puts out an abundant frequency instead of the lack. When it comes to expectation versus intentions, expectations can put you in a lack frequency again because you're trying to have some kind of control over someone else's sovereignty, and it's remembering to breathe in those moments and set the intention of being your best self and remembering the only thing that like you really have choices over are your own sovereignty, when it comes to the word help versus assist. You know, help is that you couldn't do it without me, is what I feel. Like, help is, you need me to step you up. And that's not really what I feel expansive in. I feel it's more of assisting. I assist you in learning how to reach this frequency, but really it's all up to you. It's your choice. I really don't have any power or control over whether or not you use these tools consistently or not, so I feel it's more in the assist frequency rather than help. And just
I
how
love
different words tie into the old paradigm and the new.
I love that. And it makes me think of like what I'm hearing is it takes you out of like the savior and like the damsel frequency.
Yeah. And also, like, out of the pedestal, meaning that you have to go outside of yourself to be able to do something, and into the actual like stepping into who you are and expanding that out to allow that to assist you into going where you desire to go.
And what I also feel. Hi. Okay, I'll be out of here. Thank you. They're closing the park, guys, so forgive me, but I have to get moving. But this is just life, and you're getting an inside scoop. But what I was getting to was it's also the frequency of words. We don't think about like how the collective comes together and is like help is what this is what we feel and think when we say help,
Yeah.
right? This is what we feel and think when we say support or assist. You know what I mean? And we sort of like get so mechanical when it comes to the definitions of words, but we forget that words are charged. You know, people can get very angry and very upset by just the saying of one word.
And the tone that's used when saying the word too, because it's the energy behind the word.
And there's a lot of debate right now for some reason around the power of words. Like, you know, people arguing that words are not violent or can't be, you know, words can hurt you, right? Sticks and stones, and that's a lie, right? Especially when it comes to whatever. There's something going on politically that I was hearing that a lot. And it's actually true. Like, words
That's
do,
funny though. When you say that sticks and stones, I immediately went to being a child and coming home and being upset from elementary school, and someone said something, and my grandmother's response was, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. And I feel like that is such a false thing. Like, it's
yes,
ridiculous how false that is. And two, that was like another saying that was out there to hypnotize the collective to focus
yes,
more on physical violence rather than emotional.
right. Well, I mean, how many people, women, people in general, and men are in abusive relationships, and even not even in family situations, right? You're in abusive relationships and you don't even know it. You know what I mean? Because you don't
Because
realize, you
it's
don't
emotional,
consider
not physical.
exactly. And sometimes that could be that it's not about the impact it has on you in that given moment, but it's about the way in which it directs your consciousness at the time. You know what I mean? And I think like there's so much of that in words, right? They're so powerful. There's literally spells. You know what I mean? And I can't say that I'm perfect. And there's some deer crossing, and it looks like a woman, a female deer, and she's so pretty. Anyway, side note. But we don't necessarily give creed to the notion that we should be very careful about the way we speak to each other and how we relate to things and all of this other stuff because it affects us and it affects them. But we also don't think about like even the simplest word, right? How many forms can hello take? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you can't say, and people look at you like you're crazy when you say, "Hey, you're saying this, but your frequency is this," and I can't trust you. Then they have some fodder to use against you to be like, "Oh, that doesn't even make any sense," right? Because they don't understand that.
Because it's not so much always about being responsible for your words, it's more so of being responsible for your energy,
Right.
for the frequency that you put out. Like, think about this.
But when you
Before,
get to that awareness, Jessica, and I'm not trying to cut you off,
yeah,
it changes everything because it changes the people that you can relate to and expand. You're in that expanded space, meaning you've grown past what other people. You're Alice. You drank the bottle. Now you're growing. You know what I mean? So the people that you relate to are going to continually drain you until you find someone who's in that frequency too and can match you.
I agree. It also brings awareness to what's been going on around you too. How many relationships do you have? Okay, that's what I was going to say. Before, when I would have a conversation, it was more of like a coddling conversation or an enabling conversation of like the energy. It was getting lost into people's stories where like,
Right,
and
because
you
it
would
was that
always give
old
an
programming
opinion.
coming in on different ends,
Hmm.
is what I'm hearing.
And now when we have like a conversation when something's going on, it's not usually it's usually the person who needs to like talk it out is the one talking, and the other person is just quiet holding space of expansion, so the person who's talking can like come up with all of this on their own. It's not like a you know a vi- there's not a I wouldn't say there's not advice, but it's kind of not advice because that's a different frequency too. Like sharing awareness is a different frequency than giving advice.
Right.
Do you agree?
I agree. I do. I'm feeling into what you're saying because there's so many layers to this because it's that programming that comes in that is coming in different ends. So, for example, say the first one of the programming is what we talked about, words, the words that we use, right? In the context of help versus assist,
Right.
right? But we can use it in another context, right? We can use it in um,
Expectation
that. Let's say
versus
daddy.
intentions.
How about this? For fun, let's say daddy, right? A lot of us have, and I know that can be triggering for some of you listening, but um, that has literally so many different connotations right now. And you can
Yeah.
say it in different ways and it can be creepy. You can literally have a girl who refers to her father as daddy, but says it in a frequency that is
Like,
like
hey,
daddy. You know what I
daddy.
mean?
Hmm.
Right? And then it can skeeve him out, right? But what I'm getting at here is like words can be the first frequency. I didn't need to go in that whole elaboration, but that'll paint a picture for some of you, right? But then there's the, like you said, the gaslighting, all of that other stuff that adds a whole other layer of
Yeah.
reprogramming or trying to pull you back in. You know what I mean? And the process is like slowly, like you always say, unknotting yourself, but really it's untethering yourself from every possible cord that wants to pull you back in, right? But you can start that. You can use these tools in the
It's
opposite
by,
way. Like you can use them to serve you, right?
yeah. Yeah. And
So
it's
like you could
really
use the
about,
word
it's,
frequency and start changing it like you're doing.
well, it's more of, first, I would say, first and foremost, breath is always a part of this. So I would
Yes.
have to say the first part of this is understanding that when you're not doing conscious breathing, you're hyperventilating. Like, are you still breathing? Yeah, you're still breathing, but your body's not getting the oxygen it needs. And there's that for me and my, and now this isn't for everyone. This is a part of my experiment, and I just like to share like the sides of what I see through this experiment. And for me, it's been seeing where these energies are different, where they feed different things. And by having that awareness of feeling it, it's because I'm expanded out. By when I feel myself being in those situations, I stop and I connect into my breath. I expand my aura out. I remember that, they get to have a choice of their own sovereign beings, and I have a choice of my sovereign being. And I just hold space of ease for us to get through it.
Yeah.
And then get away as soon as possible. Because
Right. Right.
obviously we're not on the same frequency and we don't have to be.
Right.
And that's the thing too. There's also a part where like we're constantly forcing other people to be in the same frequency. And we were doing it when we were in the lower
But
frequency.
what do all of these things have in common is what I'm really having an aha moment about, which is that they all come from like self-worth and validation. We want them to validate us by choosing our path, which is the same thing they're doing to us when they try to rope us back in.
Yeah, but yeah. And that again becomes in that pedestal frequency
Yeah.
and giving your self worth away. I'm only this because you're in my life, you know? And the truth is, like, no, I'm like this because I choose to be like this. I'm like this because every day I make conscious choices to expand myself and learn more about me and create relationships that really are the frequency of what I desire in a relationship. And through this process of our relationship growing, it's been understanding all the unconscious frequencies that I was carrying and realizing they don't serve me. Like we were saying earlier, there's times where we say things to each other and we can feel that resistance coming up, but we remind each other or ourselves
Yeah.
that resistance isn't necessary. And then it's able to go down and we're able to expand out and really see and move through it on our own. And it's just this
Yeah.
really learning how to stand and feel comfortable in your own space without making you feel like someone else has to blow you up because they don't. You
Right.
can do it your own. It's not for it's for you to learn how to do it, but to do it on your own.
Yeah.
You come to the teachers to learn the lesson, but it's for you to use it consistently on your own is what really makes that difference in changing the frequency and having intentions on what you're creating, not
Mm.
allowing, like whatever energies around you to make those decisions, because it's easier to go that way than for you to get into your body knowing of learning how to ask questions with your body instead of outside influences. Damn.
But that is amazing, and I love that. That was a beautiful flow of words. Um, and you know what though, I'm sorry I have to have my blinker on, because I can't find a solid place to park without being
No,
in
sorry,
traffic.
you're fine. Go
Um,
on.
I was gonna say that there's like it was the Stockholm syndrome thing that I was picking up on and that I've been talking about, like the Stockholm syndrome of the Matrix,
Yeah,
and that download, because it's like even
it's
in
been
wanting to
home.
be even wanting to be directed by the divine is a symptom, or like is evidence of that, because we are truly empowered beings. You know, when we meditate, when we can connect in, when we get our downloads, we have been affirmed enough and we have a solid connection enough to know the power of the divine, the frequency that comes in with that, and all the different frequencies that come in with that. You know what I mean? So we understand
Well, you're
a lot
talking about
more.
too the difference between invoking and
Yes.
having their assistance.
Yes.
You know,
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
again, they're not helping; they're giving assistance.
Yes.
When we're in our Christ conscious frequency, they're assisting in the plasma frequency of who I be.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Mm.
not getting into the plasma frequency of who I be. They're just adding their flame color to it.
And the
And
help.
then I get to grow with that and expand that. That's
Yes.
on me. It's not
Yes.
them like all of a sudden I got their superpower. No, it's now I have
And
the
it's not that they
ability
don't want to
also.
it's not that they don't want to help you, but it's that they don't want to help you. They want to assist you.
You have to learn your I am.
Hmm. But that's what I'm saying. Even being apart from the I am is the Stockholm syndrome,
Hmm.
right? You form an identity with the person, with or the energies that have kept you captive, right?
Yeah,
Because all of these things are intrinsic, deep knowing things, right? These are things that we uncover as we peel the layers off. It's not something that we go to outside of
learn.
ourselves.
Yeah, you're right.
So
Totally.
all of that, and this is what I'm talking about, all of these layers. And I was getting this download, and we've been in abundance of downloads lately, Jess. um it's the burning
Generally.
house. It's the burning house, right? If your house is burning, are you going to stay inside it if you could get out? Are you going to stand near it? Are you going to let yourself stand so close to it that you're going to burn yourself? Because a lot of people are feeling like they have to be on the sinking ship, and they have to go down with it. You know what I mean? And unconsciously, they don't realize that there's an awareness, a space that's being held, an arc that is so beautifully symbolic of the energy at this
It's
time.
loyalty. Something's wonky with the word loyalty.
Mm.
There's an entanglement frequency with that word, I feel.
Loyalty.
Yep.
And how does that relate to what I was saying? I'm curious where
Because
you're going with.
where you're at with this, I'm saying with the house, it's a loyalty. And
Right.
they
Yes.
can't walk away because it's a loyalty. It's a lack. If they walk away, then they're losing. Instead of seeing, well, there goes that opportunity. I'm gonna go find
And
another one. They
that
get lost in the
loyalty
loyalty of
is
lack.
the epitome of Stockholm syndrome,
Hmm.
because you have a loyalty to the person that was captivating you, right? To the thing that was
See,
captivating you.
yep.
And it because it's an abuse. It's an emotional abuse, and I some
And a
people might
lot
feel
of
like that's
times you
traumatic.
like defend it to stay in it for way past the time you were supposed to, because you're all tangled up in the resistance of standing in who you truly be.
Mm.
And then once you can go, wait, hold on. I am everything that I'm trying to say that you are, but it's not really you, it's me. And
Right.
then you can stand in them and be like, whoa, wait, hold on, that's me. And then you can start having that attitude of gratitude and giving yourself gratitude for all the things you truly be. And I feel that's the thing that shifts all of this is the attitude
Right.
of gratitude.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that is sort of like the Gugon, like the special solution that will remove any of the gunk of the Matrix or any of the Stockholm Syndrome or all of this. It's the perfect tonic to take to make sure that you are giving yourself the glory of being on that ark over those troubled waters, and you don't have to be in the troubled waters. You don't have to be in the ocean when you can be in the what was it, the tide,
In the flow,
in the
in
tide,
the
like Finding
tide.
Nemo.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
the tide.
Or in the rip
Current.
current.
It's in the
Current.
current. Yeah.
Hmm. And I know it's really hard for a lot of you guys right now because I'm seeing faces of a lot of you guys that come here. I just saw Wandy's face, and um, that just sort of indicates, and it's giving me the download that you guys are feeling far from this. But it's the feeling that of being far from this that is the problem, or not even the problem, but that is what you are working through right now.
It's the illusion.
That's the illusion. That is, my friends, is deprogramming.
Yep. That's the awareness that there's a program. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's truly a simple process to untangle and unwind that program and to release it. And then you stay in awareness that you don't choose that program. So that code may come up to play again, but you remind yourself, wait, yeah, I remember you, but I don't play with you anymore. And then you just choose not to. And then you don't play in that anymore. And you're like, it was that simple. It really is. Like we make it way complicated.
Yeah.
It's way more simple than and even me. Like, come on, it's like two
It
years
took us,
now, and
right,
finally my hard head. I feel like
because there are
my hard
layers.
donkey head finally caught on to something that was there the whole time, and I'm like, oh, it really
There
is
were
just that
layers. Like,
simple.
do you ever know for Christmas, like you have a daughter, so I'm sure you know, but like when you're opening these toys and it's like you think you opened it and then you like, oh, here you go. And then they come back because it's got like a metal weird tie on it, and then you got to cut that. And then it's like they open it again and then, oh, there's another cardboard and it's tied all the arms and legs. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's like it's layers. You know what I mean? And as you uncover one, you see the other. And as you
And
uncover that one,
and it just takes you simply untangling it to release it every time.
and you're following a path back to yourself.
Hmm.
And that's the huge thing. And to be honest, like, they want me to speak on this, like, the pedestal frequency is what makes anyone susceptible to
It's a strong collective
control,
frequency.
to
It's a
control,
Yeah, it's a
right?
strong collective frequency.
And to being used, right? Because in many ways,
Victim frequency.
there you go. That's what I'm getting at. Because, there's a lot of readers that I used to connect with earlier in my process when I was like, and I'm not shy of saying I love watching and appreciating and celebrating a lot of readers, to be honest. There's several that I really appreciate. You know what I mean? But in the past, I look back at them or I reconnect to their videos and I realize how much of the pedal frequency feeds them. You know what I mean? And you're just like, okay, like I can respect you and I can see where you are, but I can also see that there's always going to be layers. You
There's
guys
so many facets to the healing process, you know.
Yeah. And you and I have held ourselves in this beautiful space which we are wanting to share with everybody, of holding ourselves true to the expansion, because these transits are not going to stop. These
No.
layers are not going to stop being removed. And it's like following a path. It is truly following the path back to yourself through all of the things that have happened. And it's such a beautiful journey. We talk about all the reasons why it is, but we don't talk about um, the beauty of it, the joy of it, because it truly is such a glorious thing. And it may not feel glorious all the time, but it's a journey and it's a beautiful one because it's a happy ending. You know what
And
I
those
mean? And
crappy days make these good days like mean even more.
Right. Right. When I think about the old days too, I think about like what things were like when, Gaia was on a descent, or like after Atlantis fell and stuff like that. Like it must have been really bleak being like, connecting to the guides, and like being, and I'm sure they could, you obviously you're a conscious creator, you could find joy and flow in any time. But holding that awareness at that time, the way the intensity was, it was just not, that was not the place that we were as a collective in Gaia within that consciousness. So
Yeah,
how blessed are we that this is a time of opening, of expansion, of awakening, of
you get to
of
wake up again. Yep.
right. We get to wake up and we get to have the happy ending where we're conscious creators.
We get to feel our true I am power from within and realize that it really does all come from within.
The-
We really do focus, like, I love you, so I'm gonna focus all this time on you.
yeah.
No, man, because you're in their freaking world doing all that and you're neglecting yourself. Like, it's a balance of loving yourself and being in that loving yourself frequency and finding others that match up to that. And then you really get to expand on a life that works for you. So many times we try to make things work or think we can push our ways onto someone else and it'll
Yeah.
work just fine. And it's not about that. It's not about pushing anything onto anybody. It's about holding the space to allow everyone to have their own choice.
The 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 matrix will hit you at different points. I swear I'm hearing this. It'll hit you and make you weak in different points. Like
Yep.
it'll attack different pressure centers of yours. You know what I mean? Energetically, spiritually. And one of those parts is your trust in yourself, because you can only trust the divine and what you're receiving as far as you can trust yourself, right?
And there's so many programs that
Yes.
collectively are in the solar plex. So it's really going through and asking questions and being aware of what's tied into your solar plex. Because you may feel like, oh, I have great self worth, and then realize, like, no, that was a facade because you were protecting your energy and moving forward without healing.
Yeah. And I was getting at so it's not meant to be. Um I think this was such a beautiful, expansive conversation, and thank you guys for being a part of it and flowing with us. And if you have any expansions or any downloads or anything you feel really strongly that you want to share about what you heard, feel free to comment, because we're looking forward to, like we said, sharing this space with you guys so that you guys could be a part of it. And imagine the expansion that you could bring when you're in your I am and you're contributing to the conversation with your special sauce.
Thanks for listening.
We leave you in your divine light of